It's now time for The Sit Down with Don Tony.
The Sit Down, where Don Tony talks one-on-one with his followers.
What are you looking at?
About the world of pro wrestling, pop culture, and so much more.
The Sit Down with Don Tony.
And now, your host, Don Tony.
All right, we are at the end of April already. Wow, it's April 30th, 2023. For some of you out there, it's already May 1st. Wow, this year is flying by. Want to welcome everyone to your latest edition of The Sit Down, hosted by yours truly, Don Tony. I want to thank you very much for joining us. Whether you're live or if you're checking this out, whether video on YouTube or our audio family over at dontony.com. Much appreciated as always. For the next 60 minutes, I basically show up with nothing. Yeah, there's writing on the other side, but no, literally nothing. Everything is on the table. Nothing is out of bounds. You want to talk WWE, AEW, wrestling, non-wrestling, whatever's on your mind, that's what we will talk about. All I ask is that in order to participate, you have to be live in the chat, or, some people send some super chats prior to the show. Some people have to work and they send their questions in early. And as I always say, super chats are never required, but they are appreciated and they definitely help keep the shows going. And you get VIP treatment, obviously, as well. If you're live in the chat and we're taking questions from the chat, just write in capital letters the word question before your question. I can spot it quicker. If you have a comment that you just wanted me to share with everybody, just type the word comment before it. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's show. And as we do this, I see one super shout out that came in prior to the show. Let's see who this is from. Big Sal. Paisan, just give me a yes or no. Does Roman Reigns pass Hulk Hogan's title reign of 1,474 days? No, it will not. Listen, it's funny, and with all due respect, I mean, wrestling fans engaged this deep, it's a cool thing. It's cool to see wrestling fans engage and have a lot of interest in this. Where it gets to be a problem is when you have journalists and podcasters interpreting hunches, emotions, assumptions, guesses, and they post it as news. And it puts me in a difficult situation sometimes because I see people who I am friendly with posting things out there that I know for a fact is emotion being portrayed as news. And me, when I do that here, I always tell you sausage. I always tell you sausage beforehand because the last thing I want to do is lead you down a path that I really don't know if it's true or not. The reason why you're seeing people out there now claiming that Roman Reigns is going to pass Hogan's reign is because, yes, Roman Reigns for this era, replacing John Cena as the heir apparent, having a historic, for today's standards, reign is very important. And 1,000 days is obviously a magic number to get to. It's something that you rarely will ever see ever again. 1,000 days is a long time. Keep in mind that he gets to 1,000 days a month from now, and now you want to add 475 days to it to break Hogan's reign. That is more than a year. So that means you're going to go past WrestleMania 40. You're going to go past Backlash of next year. If Saudi Arabia is positioned in May, anything could happen, but no. Listen, I will not compare Roman Reigns to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt was a very good example and hopefully a wake-up call to WWE, where if you wait too long with something, you're going to fuck it up. And the thing with Roman Reigns is that WWE is not like Hulkamania back in the 80s, especially when you see the number of matches that Roman Reigns has. There's not many people that are still on that list that give you the suspension of disbelief that this guy could beat him. This guy could beat him. You know what? This guy could beat him. That guy could beat him. And, you know, I see people, oh, they're positioning him versus AJ Styles. That's no inside scoop. Soon as AJ Styles got drafted to SmackDown, they look at the current crop of wrestlers and they're like, okay, who could be in position to face Roman Reigns next? Oh, AJ Styles. That's not news. But people are portraying it as news. So, listen, Roman Reigns' reign is extremely impressive, and it will reach 1,000 days. But is he going to pass Hogan's 1,474? No. In my honest opinion, no. And, you know, at the end of the day, I think we're going to be proven right. I mean, you look at everything that we talk about on these shows. I know our audience is smaller than a lot of shows out there. I saw over the last 24 hours a bunch of people in the reporting and the podcasting world having fun clickbaiting that Asuka requested her WWE release, you know, and it was bullshit. And she even called out the person who posted it, and people still ran with it to give that impression because they need the views, need the hits. And listen, as long as the suckers keep clicking on those clickbaits, let me tell you something. You know, my audience in like Saudi Arabia or that neck of the woods is huge. If you ever look at Chartable, I mean, consistently, the Don Tony Show's in the top 5. It's mind-boggling. But there's a lot of clickbait in India. And I'm not saying India and Saudi Arabia. I'm saying, like, you got to see. I mean, just spend a few moments. I mean, you have to translate YouTube to that language. You got to see this shit. I mean, there's a lot. The Wrestling Hub. Anybody see Wrestling Hub? What they put? Tragic news, you know, blah, 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 devastated. And they I remember not too long ago, they posted, I think, Becky Lynch, like in a hospital with all these wires connected to her. And it was like nothing, it wasn't even true. So as long as people keep clicking on that garbage and giving people the revenue and the numbers, you're going to keep being fed it. But here, I think we have nailed it most of the time. So, but it's all good. It's all good because you don't think that there's haters that like the show here, but they can't wait to call me out on something and say, well, DT, you said this and you said this, you know, so it's fun. It's all good at the end of the day. All right. I'm going to head on over to the chat room. So let's start getting into questions over here. Rocky Red, now that Roderick Strong is in AEW, he's going to miss my fake little tough guy thing as he motivates Dynamite. Oh, come on, guy. Did you see all of the journalistic controversy the last couple of days of people like, you know, that nobody had any idea that he was released? Within the first 5 minutes of Tuesday's draft prediction show hosted by yours truly and Kevin Castle, within the first 5 minutes of that show, Kevin and I said, when we went over who we were going to talk about being drafted, we also gave a list of people that we were not going to talk about, Hall of Famers, people injured. And I specifically said, we're not going to get into Roderick Strong because I was told that he was released. I mean, it's hilarious to see people online like making this like, oh, we were never notified or WWE kept it quiet and this, that. I was told this like a month ago. We were joking about it a month ago. I mean, I'm not asking for anybody out there to give us credit, but I'm seeing people fighting over not reporting Roderick Strong's release. And I'm like, shit, man, eat a Snickers, lighten the fuck up. You know, I'm whatever, you know, but look, Roderick Strong can still go. Something, you know, I joked about the shirt on Wednesday and I mentioned Marina Shafir because some people out there still don't know that Marina Shafir and Roderick Strong are a couple. So that's another couple within AEW that actually get to work together. And I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. At the end of the day, I like Roderick Strong. I always have. He's not the most intimidating person out there, especially the way he was portraying his character in Diamond Mine. You know, like if you went into a dark alley, yeah, you could picture him wearing the hoodie and he's like, give me all your money. No. Oh, come on. like Hobbs, you don't want to see in a dark alley. You know, Wardlow, you don't want to see in a dark alley. Roderick Strong, no, I think you probably would be like, that's a hard no, sir. Give me your money. That's no. Give me your diamonds. Would you mind? So, look, I'd rather see Roddy on TV than not see Roddy on TV. So I'm glad he's in AEW. I'm glad for Adam Cole as well because, you know, Kyle O'Reilly's still dealing with the neck problems, and that's a lot more serious than people think. Although there's a lot of hope that he will return sooner than later. Bobby Fish, though, where's the lie? Yeah, so you know what? Roddy and Adam Cole, not a bad tag team to do. Keep Adam Cole away from the elite, with all due respect. All right, first name John. Do I think Baron Corbin as a babyface could get over would work? I know why this is floating around. I have it queued up ready for tomorrow. I want to go to Paris, France and watch a wrestling event live. Paris, France had WWE over the weekend. Paris, France fucking loves their pro wrestling. I watched Baron Corbin getting cheered like you would have thought it was his retirement match in his hometown. But everybody focused just on that. Austin Theory, when he came out, the entire building was singing his song. I don't know any of the fucking lyrics other than A-Town. That's all I know. The beginning, A-Town. That's it. That's it. If I sat here and I sang, I'd be A-Town. You know, I'm sorry, A-Town, down. That's it. That's all I know. I have clips of fans gave me Fandango vibes. You probably haven't seen it. Go on Twitter, now search it, and you'll find it. A lot of these fans took the subway home after WWE was over, and they were on the subway platform serenading Seth Rollins. I'm talking hundreds of fans. So that's where you're getting the Baron Corbin thing from. You don't turn Baron Corbin babyface because Paris was, you know, cheering everybody. Baron Corbin, I don't know if it would work as a babyface. We had this discussion a week ago when I was joking about NXT, actually at the end of the draft episode, where we politely forgot Baron Corbin. He was the only one that we forgot as the pick. You know, when he was down on his luck and he started winning, that was probably the best time to turn him babyface, and they didn't. Listen, anything could work. But I am not going to turn Baron Corbin babyface because Paris, France warmed up to him. I will admit, it was a cool moment. I capped all the videos to share with you tomorrow. It was a cool moment. But I don't know if it would work. I don't know if it would work. You know, Baron Corbin, like, what is he going to do? Fall hard on his luck again? We've been down that road. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, what assholes in the world of pro wrestling is Baron Corbin going to stand up to where suddenly the fans are going to start cheering him? I don't know. Are they going to put him on that noticeable losing streak? And I mean noticeable losing streak. Him getting dissed in the back every segment was done to garner a little sympathy. That's where they were going with this. But that's not enough. That is far from enough. We'll see what happens. We'll see what happens. Harry Hollycock. Sorry, Harry. Harry Hollyock. One guy he doesn't see talked about much is Lashley. After a lackluster Mania, I would prefer to say non-existent. How do I see the company building him this year? You don't have to do much, man. You don't. I personally think Bobby Lashley versus Roman Reigns would be fun. And listen, I know even the other day when I was bringing up names, I saw people, politely saying like, oh, DT, they did that before. Oh, DT, they did that before. Oh, DT, they did. Yeah, I've done pretty much almost every day before. Yeah, you got to sometimes revisit things. Bobby Lashley, he is quiet right now. And honestly, it's probably the best thing. The fact that a lot of people aren't paying attention to Bobby Lashley right now is good, because that would just bring nothing but frustration. Right now, it's not Bobby Lashley's time to have a championship title. Remember that infamous thumbnail? Remember the infamous thumbnail I made when they were going to unify the titles? You could go last year's YouTube. Go look at the thumbnail. I had Roman Reigns with both belts before he ever won both belts. Might have even been the year before. And I wrote on the title, be careful what you wish for. And Bobby Lashley was one of the people that, was not going to have a substantial title anytime soon. Now you have the birth of this World Heavyweight Championship, and Bobby Lashley's not going to be one of them. He's on SmackDown now. So I'm kind of glad that the IWC doesn't have Bobby Lashley on their radar, because it would just lead to frustration right now. What are you going to do? Austin Theory is going to be drafted to SmackDown tomorrow. In my opinion, he's going to be drafted to SmackDown. And you know what? Shout out to Mike. I saw this early on in the comment section. I was thinking about it, but I didn't think about it enough. You think about the announcing, when we talk about what's the female's name, the announcer on SmackDown, Ricochet's girlfriend. Oh my God, I always draw a blank with her name. Somebody bail me out, please. It's late over here. I'm tired. I got to get up early tomorrow. What's her name? Samantha Irvin? Is it Samantha Irvin? I think it's Samantha Irvin. Samantha Irvin, Mike said this right as soon as we went live. And I thought about it the other day, but it hit me when he wrote it. We're not going to hear her anymore announce Imperium or Gunther. And that's my favorite call of all the wrestlers, because she gets into it, man. She's Ludwig Kaiser. And then she brings up Gunther. He is the Intercontinental Champion, Gunther. No more. No more. So maybe she goes to Raw. Seriously, that she's good, man. But that's something we're going to be missing. But getting back to Bobby Lashley, Theory's going to get drafted to SmackDown. Maybe Bobby Lashley ultimately dethrones Theory. And I know we've been down that path, but you got to do something. What are you going to do? You're not bringing back the 24/7 title. You're not splitting up the tag team titles just yet. And who's going to team up with Bobby Lashley? So. Tristan is asking, am I a Nike guy or a Jordan guy? Neither. I'm a Skechers guy. Back in the day, I was a Puma guy. And Adidas actually was my sneaker back in the day. Air Jordans, I never got into. I think I owned a pair of Air Jordans once in my life. And I think I bought them simply because I was obsessed with pumping the sneakers. It felt good tightening around the ankles, but I was never a Jordan guy. And Nike, I never really got into either. For me, it was Puma and Adidas. And I'm not going to lie, my dad bought me Pumas because they were cheaper. They were cheaper. And then Adidas, when I started working, I liked Adidas, but I'm Skechers now. I wear Skechers, so never into Fila's. Fila, never into Fila. Michael Gonzalez, would Will Gallows and Anderson get a push towards the tag titles on SmackDown? Anything's possible. They will not be split. If they split, somebody's getting released. Right now, we have to wait for the draft to finish. We have to see who's going to be drafted where. Remember last Sunday's show, I know a lot of people don't think about some of the conversations we have. Tournaments are going to be coming up. As they announced the day after, there's a tournament for a new World Heavyweight Championship. There will be tournaments to determine new contenders for Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. When it comes out there or somebody decides they're going to post sausage, then the whole world is going to be like, hey, did you hear they're doing tournaments? Yeah, we talked about it a week ago. They are coming. We have to wait. I will say this. I do not believe Gallows and Anderson are going to be put in the record books as the tag team to dethrone Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens for at least one set of those titles. I don't know who it's going to be. I haven't thought about it yet. Once this draft is over with, then I'll start thinking about it. But the big question is, who will be the first tag team to dethrone Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens of one set of those titles? Not both, one set. I might have that answer in a week. I'll think about it, let it sink in a little bit. Gargano and Ciampa will not be put in the record books to do that. DIY for a reunion is not a bad idea. I like the idea, but that's fans hoping that they unite. That's not WWE internal discussion. But we'll see. We'll see. Listen, whoever takes one set of those tag teams, it's going to be a very established, important tag team and could end up being Usos. I know we're tired of the bloodline feud with Owens and Zayn. I get it. But at the end of the day, you want to put one set of those tag titles on a team that is very well deserving of it. And right now, they could end up revisiting Ricochet and Braun Strowman. Could be anybody. But it's not going to be Gallows and Anderson. It's certainly not going to be Ciampa and Gargano. It's going to be a team that has a huge WWE Universe following. Run DMG is asking me, will Cody be the Raw World Heavyweight Champion? No, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. They're not going to do this whole Dusty storyline. We had such a long conversation about this last Monday, and my thoughts have not moved an inch. The Dusty storyline, the chase, everything, it's about going for Roman's championship. I think back to Dusty going for Ric Flair's championship. He didn't divert and decide he was going to go for this title instead or this. It's one person and one person only. If they would have created a secondary heavyweight title back in the day, still would have went straight for Ric Flair. It's a feud. It's a competition. Putting the title on Cody, you're just asking. Listen, they could do it and let Roman cut a promo and say, you got the pity title. And maybe Cody is fine that WWE actually, recognizes that, and so the fans could bring it up. I just think that hurts the whole push for Cody. No, I think Seth Rollins is your, first champion. And Seth Rollins, his promo Monday sold it for me. Seth Rollins, looked at that championship, said that it's not about politics and part-timers. He will make that championship proud. He will make everybody proud of that championship. He will defend it. He will work his ass off. And that will be part of the storyline. And then you will have fans saying, you know what? Seth Rollins is a better champion than Roman Reigns. That'll be down the line. It's not going to be Cody Rhodes. In my opinion, it's not. Cody will be traded to SmackDown. Cody Rhodes on Raw is needed for ratings. You can't just trade him yet because Cody versus Roman Reigns is not happening yet. So for the present time, Cody Rhodes has to deal with Brock Lesnar. Cody Rhodes, it would shock me beyond belief if Cody Rhodes was the first heavyweight champion. Cody will get traded to SmackDown when it's ready for him to feud with Roman Reigns once again. All right, we are a little less than halfway done already, and I want to thank everybody for some awesome questions. Kevin Milwaukee is asking, why do I think WWE chose this weekend to do their draft when the NFL chooses their draft, especially months in advance? Because WWE is wrestling and they're not football. Simple as that. And that's, hey, if they want to piggyback off of NFL, so what? So what? I mean, during halftime of the Super Bowl, we had WWF have The Rock versus Mankind for the halftime Super Bowl, during the Super Bowl. Did anybody complain at the time? And like, why would they do that during the halftime? There's nothing wrong with that. It's two different sports. It's two different entities. I have no issue with that whatsoever. None. Zero. Joey is asking my thoughts on the Britt Baker shirt. I want to punch myself in the eye. I want to legitimately give myself a black eye. Maybe I'll even do makeup tomorrow or Wednesday, and I'll put a black eye on my face. Honestly, the domestic abuse, let me put it this way. I actually have the shirt because I downloaded it for Wednesday's show. Let me put it in the computer and show everybody. And I'll tell you my honest take on it. And some people are going to get mad. Some people are going to get really mad what I'm going to say. Let me put this in here. All right. For anybody that's on audio only, I'm sure you do a simple Google image search. Just type in Britt Baker black eye t-shirt, and that's all you get. All right, here it is. Here's the shirt that everybody's talking about. My honest take on it, AEW was foolish to put this on the shirt. Anything to make money. That's how I look at it. As far as looking at that shirt and interpreting it as domestic assault, domestic violence, okay. That same mentality is this moron mentality that Shane Thorne chasing Reggie for the 24/7 title is racist because Reggie is black. And I know that Adam Cole did not punch Britt Baker in the face. And I know that no boyfriend, husband, lover punched Britt Baker in the face. That's not domestic assault. If you are a wrestling fan, you know where that black eye came from. If you are walking down the street and you're wearing that shirt, don't be surprised if somebody walks up to you and wants to punch you in the face, like, why are you celebrating a woman with a black eye? Are you going to sit there and break down, whoa, no. This is wrestling. And no. You see, there was this guy, Adam Cole, this is his boyfriend, and he was handcuffed to a ring, and, this girl, Saraya, that's her opponent, like Singapore came during an event. No. You don't have time for that. That's a fucking stupid shirt to put on sale. If Saraya wants to wear it, if some bootleg Hindu company out there or China, because they all come from China or India, if they want to put it on sale, bullshit.com, buy the shirt. If you want to buy the shirt anyway, fine. AEW putting their label on it without even like a graphic or something, stupid on AEW's part. But anybody out there that follows wrestling, brings up domestic assault, you have the same mentality of that writer that accused WWE of racism because Reggie being chased for the title because he's black. I had somebody say to me, and by the way, props to all of you who sent me your feedback. My email blew up in the last 24 hours because a lot of people out there are very nervous about posting their views publicly, because of the toxic environment out there, especially on social media that you see. There were some people that wholeheartedly agreed with everything I said about that lawsuit. There were quite a few people out there that thought I was completely wrong with that lawsuit. There were some people who were black that agree with me, and there were some people who were black. They're like, DT, you don't understand. You will never understand. You got to look at it, and I appreciate all of it because I want to be educated. I want to see different viewpoints on it. But the one that kind of got me was somebody said Steve Austin and Becky Lynch stunned 3 black guys. Don Tony, you don't think that's racist? And my answer back was, so when the New Day or the Hurt Business all beat up white tag teams, was that racist? Are you saying to me that New Day needs to have a white person? Because if you attack them and you happen to be white, that's the mentality that's wrong with pro wrestling. I saw that WWE writer that said, oh, if you're black or if you're gay, you would have a hard time being a writer in WWE. That comment in itself is racist and homophobic. And 99.9% of the internet wrestling community didn't have the balls or the intelligence to spot that. That former WWE writer, whatever that jackass's name is, and we'll probably acknowledge him tomorrow, he is taking all gays and all blacks as a whole and saying that if you're black or you're gay, that all these storylines would make you feel uncomfortable. That that's racist. That's bigotry. That is bias at its best. To take a whole class of people and assume that every single one, how's about, hey, if I'm a gay person and they do a joke, the other person happens to be gay, but it has nothing to do with sexuality. No, it's not homophobic because they're not taking a shot at the person's sexuality. It's just the person in the storyline just happens to be homosexual or bisexual in their real life. But because, the stupidity. Seriously, I want to punch myself in the eye right now. I want to punch myself in the eye. For real. It's just, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. But that Britt Baker shirt, I think that was foolish by AEW to pull it on sale. Because people are going to buy it, and you know why. Look, you're a Britt Baker supporter. You put money in her pocket. If you want to do that, I'm not going to tell you not to. But just be prepared if you're walking down the street and you got somebody who is really hardcore against violence against women, and you're wearing that shirt, that person has no fucking idea why you're wearing that shirt. For all that person knows, that could be your girlfriend. You're celebrating her black eye. You don't have time to turn around and start explaining that it's sports entertainment. And trust me, some idiot on Twitter is going to claim that just to try to get a hand job from AEW. I guarantee you some whack job wrestling fan down the line is going to say, I bought that fucking shirt to support Britt Baker and I got assaulted on the street because I was labeled that I condoned domestic assault, domestic abuse. Some asshole is going to lie and say that, hopefully to get coddled by AEW. Maybe get a phone call from Britt Baker or an apology from Tony Khan. I'm telling you, I see it a mile away. Some idiot out there is going to, it's just like the idiot that accused Kofi Kingston, like, 10 years ago at an airport, Kofi was drinking coffee and he had his head buds in his head, and Kofi's like, number one, I don't drink coffee. Number two, I don't have buds like that. Number three, I don't do this. Oh, that's what I remember. Well, you were wrong. And you realize quickly that fan never interacted with Kofi. That fan just thought that a whole bunch of people were like, oh, well, I'm so sorry. Oh, yeah. All right. JS with a question. Do I think the pay-per-view schedule will change like branded shows being added? No, I don't think so. Absolutely not. And I will tell you reason number one. See, a lot of people forgot about Endeavor and WWE forming into another company. A lot of people forgot that WWE is treating every event like a mega event. That's why we got Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley months earlier than we were supposed to. That's why they go over and above and seem to give us a little bit extra. That's why they're booking 80,000 seat stadiums. That's why they got Bad Bunny. That's why they got Logan Paul. That's why they're doing this. That's why they're doing it. Every event, they want to maximize as much money as they can get. They are not going to water it down by having a pay-per-view that is just Raw. Now, you may see house shows. You may see house shows with Raw only or SmackDown only, which makes total sense. because Raw may be in Texas and SmackDown may be in Cali. So you don't want Raw stars to also be in Cali and then have to get on the red eye and go all the way back to Texas. But as far as pay-per-views go, we're in the era now that everything has got to be maximized. WWE is trying to maximize every dollar, get every little ounce. It's like squeezing an orange. You squeeze an orange. If you got 50 oranges in front of you, you may not squeeze them all the way and you're like, you enjoy the juice. WWE is treating it like there's only one orange and you're squeezing it and you got all that juice out and you're still like trying to get every drop out of it. That's why, and again, these are fans out there that are interpreting emotions, guesses, hunches, feelings as news. And it's not. And it's not. Just look at the business mantra of WWE, and your answer is right there. Your answer is right there. Tristan, hypothetical question. How much more different do I think the business would have been if Eric Bischoff and WCW would have won the Monday Night Wars? Oh, it is so hard, man. I personally think that Eric Bischoff, well, see, you got to kind of change that a little bit. If it would have been Turner, I think Vince would have just started another company. I think Vince would have created another company and started smaller. And I think he has his loyalists from Undertaker to Steve Austin and everywhere else. There would have definitely been financial backers. I just personally look back on it, and yes, look, Vince McMahon was in a hell of a lot of trouble, but a lot of it was because of the steroid scandal. A lot of it was his own doing. And that would have been, look, I think the only way Eric Bischoff would have won the Monday Night Wars is if Vince McMahon would have ultimately gone to jail and he would have been in there for 10, 20 years. And I just think that would have been it. The problem is that the steroid trial was, 1993. The Monday Night Wars didn't start until 1995. And yes, WWF had a very tough time financially getting out of that hole, and they let the big money guys go to WCW. If they would have won the Monday Night Wars, I think Vince would have started a smaller federation. You look at TNA Impact. WCW failed and TNA, I don't think TNA Impact would have been born if WCW never closed down. I don't think we would have gotten NWA TNA. I think we would have actually, I take that back. We would have gotten NWA TNA. Just like there was NWA Cyberspace, just like there was NWA California. And I know I'm exaggerating, but NWA had a whole bunch. ECW used to be NWA. So there would have still been an NWA TNA, but not to that level because a lot of people who left with WCW that WWE did not work out a deal for, they ended up going to Jeff Jarrett is person number one. And you see some others. They were not picked up by WWE, so they had extra investment and time and a roster. So I think Vince would have still, he would have gotten involved with other people. There would have been investors. People underestimate, the thing that I've been saying for years and years and years that still happens even now. Executives and people in the business world want to deal with Vince McMahon. Endeavor, the networks, they want to speak to Vince McMahon. I know. How could Fox, NBC, Universal, Endeavor, Ari, and all these others, how could they want to do business with an 80-year-old pervert, who should be in jail in a lot of people's eyes, racist, or whatever you want to label Vince? Yeah, but that doesn't change that because you're offended by it. They're not. They're not offended. They want to deal with Vince. And as long as Vince is around, they will deal with Vince. 25 years ago, 20 years ago, 22 years ago to be exact, there was enough people out there that still would have wanted to deal with Vince. Kashan, do I see a Bullet Club versus Bullet Club Gold feud coming? There's so many variations of the Bullet Club. To me, Bullet Club is really nothing anymore. It's just like like they fall back on that to try to boost the name value of the wrestlers. with all due respect, Juice Robinson and Jay White are signed to AEW. You know, they're not an outsider. And the Bullet Club always came across to me as almost like outsiders, almost like a faction trying to take over a company. And having one or two guys, you know, they've been an Impact forever, Bullet Club. And it's the name of a tag team. It's just a moniker to try to increase the name value of some of the people that are involved in it. By the way, this week's history show that I'm uploading Tuesday is the anniversary of the Bullet Club. The first version of the Bullet Club formed this week in history, believe it or not. Bullet Club is played out, in my honest opinion. But Gruss, I will say this. There are some very, very, very talented, valuable members still in that club. And to me, it's now, I don't call it a club anymore. I call it a clique. I call it a clique. It's a group of guys that all are part of the same clique. You know, it's different now. It doesn't have that value that it used to have. And yes, I could see forms of the Bullet Club feuding with each other, but at the end of the day, there's no value to it. There's really not. It's almost like when WWE had Team Extreme. After a couple of years, you know, Tommy Dreamer's in WWE forever, and, you know, he teams up with Raven and they take on RVD and Sabu or Balls Mahoney and Axel Rotten, you know, back in 2006 or 7 for WWE. You know, they're WWE stars now. This is not, oh my God, ECW is feuding with each other. No, there's wrestlers who used to be in ECW, but they're WWE guys at the end of the day. Team Extreme, you know, that's more of, and yes, I know the Hardys were also Team Extreme before anybody says anything. So, do I think CM Punk will be wrestling at Wembley? Yes, I do. I will talk about CM Punk visiting Impact on Wednesday's show. CM Punk visiting former employers, you know, just trying to mend fences, trying to just come off as one of the boys. There's no publicity stunts here. Him showing support for others, giving back a little bit. That's all I see this is. This is not any, you know, strategic ploy, you know, with Tony Khan, mastermind with something. This is not like Cookie Gate from years back. This is not somebody showing up. You know, yes, CM Punk has burned a lot of bridges over the years. CM Punk now is trying to repair some of those bridges. The funny thing is that the people that he's meeting, with the exception of Triple H and The Miz, he's meeting people that there were no bridges burned. When he went to Impact, he was there to show support for Trinity, hang out with Mercedes, and talk to a few other people, shake a few hands, see how everything is going. You know, he cares about pro wrestling again. He wants to feel welcome wherever he goes. And that's a cool thing. And yes, he will wrestle at Wembley. Garnet Chaos is asking me the Midnight Express or Fabio. Oh, easy. Midnight Express. Not even close. Midnight Express all the way. Midnight Express. Okay, let's spread this around a little bit. Rick Shaw says, Bullet Club reminds me of when all the American guys went to Japan back in the day, and they all got those steakhouse jackets. The Ribera jackets. I always wanted one of those. A long time ago, I had the chance of getting one, and I didn't get it because of ECW. No joke. A lot of you may remember about 17, 18 years ago, I had an original ECW leather bomber. I got it as a gift from somebody who used to work in ECW. Never mentioned the person's name publicly because I didn't want it to turn into a dumb incident like people still do to this day with Conan, if you know what I'm talking about. And people used to make fun of me. Like, you were never ECW. And I'm like, no, I never wrestled for ECW, but I supported them since 93. And I actually had the privilege of working, you know, pushing tickets for them, you know, the last year in existence, you know, but still, like, because I'm wearing an ECW leather jacket, like, those were just for employees. Why do you have that jacket? You were never that. I'm like, man, don't fuck yourself. I put it on eBay, sold it. And then it was like, I wanted one of those Riviera, whatever it's called. And I had the same feeling like with the ECW. I said, I can imagine going to an indie wrestling event, wearing one of those jackets and just having assholes say stupid shit. I'm like, I don't even want to bother. That's how ridiculous it gets. Seriously. I get to a point where I just don't even want to deal with bullshit. So, yeah, Rivera jackets. Those are cool jackets, though. They are cool jackets. It is, it's a very elite club to have those jackets. And I'm sure you could buy them anywhere online. Bash is asking, do I think on Raw, Pretty Deadly will go to Raw, Creeds, and the Creed brothers will be drafted? Well, we talked about it on Tuesday's predictions. I think Pretty Deadly is ready for the main roster. I think they got to go to the main roster. I have a feeling they may end up on SmackDown. We got to wait for the draft to happen tomorrow, the second half of it. Because there's a lot of tag teams still available. Braun Strowman and Ricochet, Alpha Academy, the Usos, and there's others that are escaping me right now. And right now, it doesn't feel like the tag team division on SmackDown is very strong. I could see Pretty Deadly on SmackDown. Creed brothers, I'm not sure. I feel they're ready. I mean, if Isla Dawn and Alba Fire are ready, the Creed brothers are ready. And that's not a shot on Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. I would not be surprised if the Creed brothers get promoted to the main roster, but we'll know in about 24 hours. By the way, here's the preview for Monday's show. We will recap night 2 of the WWE Draft. This is a partial list of people who are available in the draft. I made it look as good as possible. We are also going to do Backlash predictions, I believe, Monday night. Because this second night of the draft, I don't think it's going to be as eventful as night 1. Although some of these names are obviously very important of where they go with their brands. And by the way, the colors is just representing what brand they're on right now. We'll see who gets drafted where. But we'll recap it tomorrow. But as of right now, I'm doing Backlash predictions on Monday night. I was thinking about seeing if Kev was around to do a prediction show on Tuesday. Problem is that, he works. And we don't want to, have everybody get used to doing this every single week. I mean, if it ends up happening that way, cool. But right now it's not. So, doesn't look like that's going to happen for this week. Maybe we'll do something the following week. But as of right now, I'll probably do Backlash predictions. And I got a news for you. I was thinking about the matches. As of right now, I think Bad Bunny loses. I really do. Don't ask me why, because everybody and their mother I talk to believes that Ray will help and this and that. Bad Bunny's winning. I just got this feeling, man, that even though Bad Bunny and Damian Priest got a lot of respect for Bad Bunny and has no problem laying down for Bad Bunny. As of right now, I'm kind of leaning towards Bad Bunny losing. So we'll see. If we do predictions Monday night, I have 24 hours to think about this. So we got about 12 minutes left. So let's make these questions good. I see a super shout out came in, and this almost escaped me. Oh, God. Steve Joseph, thank you for the 5-spot, my friend. Steve is asking, Don Tony, your thoughts on Fox News getting rid of Tucker Carlson. Honestly, I'm surprised. I do not watch Fox News anymore. I have not watched Fox News. This is no joke. This is not an exaggeration. I have watched a total of maybe 30 minutes of Fox News over the last 2 years combined. 2 or 3 years combined. I don't watch it anymore. I don't like politics anymore. I don't like Republicans. I don't like Democrats. Everybody is out for their own advantage, their own, interests. I see what happened with the election with Biden and Trump, and I see how COVID was, put in a certain way to win an election, to lose an election. And then 3 years later, some Fauci saying that the masks were only 10% successful. Go back to 1929 and look at the diseases then. Oh, we didn't have antibiotics at that time. Millions of people died. And yes, I mean, nothing would have prevented that. But you tell those people in 1929 that masks were only 10% successful. You know, the problem with COVID was that you could get it in the eyes. So even if you're wearing a mask, if somebody coughs and it gets in your eye tear ducts, that's it. You could get it. So you tell me when the next pandemic comes out, you tell me that the masks are only 10% effective. Why would it? So you see all the politics combined. I don't pay attention anymore. And honestly, my thoughts, Tucker Carlson on the outside in, you know, when I hear that secretly he despised Trump, to me, he's nothing but another politician. Publicly saying one thing and privately having a totally different view just because he had supporters making the money he was making, took a side publicly because it was the most popular, controversial side that made him the most money. And meanwhile, secretly, he felt totally otherwise. So that's someone I don't trust. I could care less that he's gone. Bill O'Reilly, I'm a little surprised that he never made the comeback, you know, and you see others as well. At the end of the day, you know, all these people, I could care less. Don Lemon, Tucker Carlson, let them do a reality show together. Let them live in a house together. Seriously, I'm not kidding either. Somebody pay and have them live in a house together. Let's do The Odd Couple with those two guys. I could care less about it anymore. It's the God honest truth. And you know, the funny thing is, 3 or 4 years ago, I had a lot of people out there stop tuning into my shows here because I would not shut up about politics. And I'm not going to lie to you. If any of you out there have returned, and I know some of you have, but any of you out there that have returned, you have my 1,000% most sincere apology for the amount of politics that I used to talk on these shows. I did not realize at the time because I was getting my personal life intertwined into the shows and speaking how I felt. And I didn't realize how much people wanted the shows as an escape from all of the bullshit out there. And I let it in here. And probably about a year and a half ago, I sat back and I tuned into about 15 minutes of a podcast they did like 3 years ago. I had to turn it off. I had to turn myself off. I was like, this is awful. So you have my sincere apologies. That will never happen again. If there's a serious situation, we need to all talk about it. Of course, we will talk about it. But I keep politics out of the shows. Thank you for that, Steve. Some people love it when I talk politics. You know, just right now, I just worry about me. I worry about my family, my friends, what I love, what makes me happy. To me, that's all that matters. John is asking me my thoughts on Life Louie going into the GCW Deathmatch Hall of Fame. I think, was it Kevin Williams? Somebody earlier wrote that as well. Eric Williams wrote it earlier. Yeah, I saw it right before we went live. I am ecstatic for Louie. It's happening in Jersey, Atlantic City, I think in the beginning of June. I don't know if I'll be able to go. If I'm invited, I'll probably go, you know, make certain that I get there. Life Louie is a gem, and I love that guy. And sucks that I lost touch with him and Reefer and everybody over the years. You know, it's just, I had a lot of things going on physically, you know, pain, other things, but to hear him going into the Deathmatch Hall of Fame, same Hall of Fame as Supreme, Nick Mondo, Madman Pondo. There's Nick Mondo. Yeah, Nick Mondo. What is it? Mondo and Pondo. That's what Nick Mondo and Madman Pondo and Supreme, Nate Hatred. You know, to see Louie's name with those guys, that's awesome, man. I still think back to 2002 when I was doing the bus trips for XPW. And I remember, you know, no joke, if any of you talk to Louie, he will tell you this. There was a guy, Ken Scampy, think his name was Ken Scampy. I've told this story before. He drove, a little behind the scenes XPW story. He drove the truck that carried the ring all the way to Philly. I think it's Ken Scampy, I think his name was. Not Scampoli or whatever the podcast is. I think his name was Ken Scampy. So anyway, he drove the ring all the way to Philly and helped put up the ring and everything like that. And he was an indie wrestler here in New York. And I remember all he wanted was the spa for like a couple of minutes with Shane Douglas in the ring. Like he drove the ring all the way there, put it together, did all this stuff. I think brought guardrails too. And I remember somebody in XPW saying, yeah, you know, we'll let him have a couple of minutes with Shane Douglas, and it never happened. And I remember Louie going on the bus trips with us, and we were trying everything possible to get Louie to work Supreme. I mean, I didn't have any leverage. Even though I started doing work for XPW and coming up with ideas, I wanted to do East Coast versus West Coast. When XPW invaded the ECW arena, I wanted East Coast versus West Coast, like gang violence. I didn't want XPW versus ECW. I wanted East Coast versus West Coast. West Coast, the Cali motherfuckers are invading East Coast. And that guy Slash, if anybody ever talks to him, he'll tell you, I said 50 times, oh, what do you think? Oh, you could put Danny Doring with Chaos. You could put this person with that person. And you could have Life Louie take on Supreme. I fucking lobbied. And they're like, no, we can't do that. We got to have Supreme take on Angel, the hardcore homo. Because they knew how awesome that match would be for, you know, just fans on the East Coast. But he wanted to take on Supreme so bad at that time. He fucking loved Supreme's work. Louie. See him going in that GCW Hall of Fame. Very, very well deserved. Louie is one of the good people in the world of pro wrestling. And I tell you, even on a personal note, it's fucking mind-boggling that his kid now has got to be like 17 years old, 18 years old. I don't remember the year he got married because I was in his wedding party. I think it was like 2005 or 2006. I don't remember exactly. It's around that time. I might be off by a year or two. But even 15, 16 years old, I mean, to just think, I mean, man, years fucking fly by. Somebody was bringing to my attention, what is it the 8-year anniversary of? Oh, shit. It's something in pro wrestling. It's the 8-year anniversary of something in pro wrestling. Oh, no, it wasn't 8-year anniversary of wrestling. Anybody that's baseball fans, do you remember when there was a lot of civil unrest in Baltimore and the Orioles had to play a baseball game in Baltimore with no fans in attendance? That was 8 years ago. Now, yes, I know with COVID, we had empty stadiums too. But the thing is like, I remember that day, like hearing the crack of the bat and hearing Gary Thorne and no crowd reaction. And it was just weird to see. That's 8 years ago. That's mind-boggling. That many years have gone by. It's pretty wild, man. Pretty wild. Okay. Steven is asking, Kabuki Warrior reunion this year or Asuka versus Io Sky feud for the Raw Women's Championship? Well, let's get Io Sky that title first. You know, let's get through the draft. Rhea Ripley, a lot of people believe will be drafted to Raw, and they will be swapping titles. The fact that Bianca Belair cut that promo on SmackDown, which we have already ripped to pieces on yesterday's show, that in itself made it so confusing. Let's get through Backlash first. If Io Sky wins the championship, then we could talk. But the thing is that you're talking about Asuka and Io Sky fighting for the Raw Women's Championship, and it hasn't even happened yet. Asuka hasn't even been drafted yet. Io Sky is now on SmackDown. And as I said yesterday, you could do something where Io Sky beats Bianca Belair for the Raw Women's Championship at Backlash, and then Triple H makes a decision that since she's the Raw Women's Champion, Io Sky goes back to Raw. Yeah, that could happen. Trades are going to happen. But then that means Rhea Ripley is on SmackDown. So tomorrow's draft is going to answer some questions. If Rhea Ripley ends up drafted to Raw, or she stays on Raw, well, technically she's drafted to Raw because she's SmackDown Women's Champion, then the possibility of title swapping is very high. And I know that's something that we don't want, especially because Bianca Belair has had a pretty substantial run. And to end it because you're swapping titles, it's kind of like crappy. But at least her reign is ending as Raw Women's Champion, and she wasn't defeated for it. So people could argue years from now, well, her reign ended at 300 and blah, blah, blah days. But you know what? They swapped the titles, and that's why it ended. Who knows how long Bianca could have kept that title? So there's a couple of reasons why this shit could be going down. So, yes, if you're enjoying the show, hit that like button because we're going to wrap this up. We are going to wrap this up. Like 2 or 3 more questions, and we're out of here. Kevin is asking, was Terry Funk my favorite wrestler in the mid-'80s too? Yes. Terry Funk became my favorite wrestler right around the time that he beat the crap out of Mel Phillips. I don't want any assholes who, because he's black. No, Mel Phillips was rumored to be a sexual weirdo. No, I'm going to be honest with you. Did anybody back in the mid-'80s think that Mel Phillips was playing around with kids? No, but I was going to the Garden at that time, and I remember him at ringside. I remember him, and this is the truth. This is a God-honest truth, and anybody that is my age or a little bit older that used to go to the Garden in the mid-'80s will vouch for me on this one. I remember my earliest memory going to the Garden around the mid-'80s, I would say 84, 85, sitting front row, second row, because my uncle had connections. He worked for the Ridgewood Grove Arena. And Mel Phillips would be at ringside sometimes. Mel Phillips would take the wrestlers' jackets. He would introduce. Very rare that he would introduce, though, because it was usually Howard Finkel. But what I do remember afterwards, once the scandal started coming out and you started hearing Mel Phillips' name, you didn't think anything of it at the time. And I'll use a bad example. There's the only way I can compare it to these days. Joe Biden. How many of you out there have seen people show videos of Joe Biden with younger kids, kissed them on the lips, like hugged them in a very weird way that you just makes you feel uncomfortable? How many of you seen those? Okay. Back in the day, Mel Phillips would be mingling, socializing at ringside with people sitting front row, second row, communicating, knew a lot of people at ringside. And if somebody had like a little boy or little girl there, he would like, oh, what's your name? But he would like be extra touchy. And I'm not just saying like messing with their hair. He would like be a little, not in a groping sexual way, but you remember he was a little bit touchy, and then when the scandal came out a couple of years later, I do remember him like a little bit too touchy with kids. Now, the rumors is that, it was more about boys and their feet. But Terry Funk, when he beat up Mel Phillips, it was so out of the box compared to wrestlers that I saw up close and personal. And then when Terry Funk would go around ringside and tease that he was going to go into the crowd and brawl with people, then you start paying a little bit more attention to the wrestling magazines. And at this time, I started buying back issues of wrestling magazines, 79, 78, 77. And you start seeing a little bit of Terry Funk. And you see Jerry Lawler and Terry Funk and the Quaker Steak stuff and this and that. And then, a couple of years later, you tape trade with people. And then once we're now in the early to mid 90s, you got our video and you go to wrestling indie shows and there'll always be, Tuco's video, TUCOWS, and you would have others that have these best of tapes. So Terry Funk became my favorite pretty much when Jimmy Snuka and Don Morocco started fading away. You know, that's when he took over, and he's still my favorite wrestler of all time. Once Terry Funk became my favorite wrestler, it's never left. Terry Funk is still my favorite wrestler of all time. That's why I originally was going to rotate the little banner behind me, and I haven't rotated it yet because, hey, my nickname on my wrestling hotline in 1997 was the Funker. Everybody knew me as Anthony the Funker. I was a Funker, you know? So, all right, one more question, and we're going to be out of here. All right, Kashawn is asking, do I see a LA Knight push in the near future? I will answer it like this. A week ago, in a synopsis, the first words were, better nights ahead. And I spelled nights, K-N-I-G-H-T-S. And if you look at the first sentence of that synopsis, that the push of LA Knight is about to end. Week ago, we had a nice little conversation on that Saturday show about LA Knight, that he is going to start riding a little bit of a momentum. And what happened this past week? He beat Butch on SmackDown. He's going to be heavily praised tomorrow when he gets drafted. LA Knight, that decline, the perceived decline, is over. It's over. Better nights ahead. See, when I write these things, I write it with the hope that everybody takes notice of this. You know, when we talk about a month ago, Roderick Strong released, and, you know, don't worry, fans, you know, I see, you know, LA Knight, why do they keep making him lose? Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. It's the opposite of Legado. How many weeks ago did we start taking notice that Legado, ever since the LWO was formed, they have won nothing? How many weeks ago did we point that out? And nobody paid attention. Now people are starting to notice, like, holy shit, they haven't won once. Zelina Vega has a better record than anybody else in the LWO. You know, we write this so people take notice. So honestly, better nights ahead. I was dead serious about that. And it started with SmackDown a couple of days ago, defeating Butch. Better nights ahead. LA Knight, better nights ahead. But WWE is going to do it the right way and do it organically. People putting briefcases on LA Knight, putting the heavyweight championship on LA Knight, those are fans that really want to see LA Knight succeed. And that's cool. Just don't turn it into news when it's not news. Because when it doesn't happen the way that you're perceiving it to be, then people get disappointed. People get disappointed. That's why, you know, they think that's the number one problem right now with wrestling news. You know, from the CM Punk drama to everything else, people are taking their own personal emotions and feelings and hunches and thoughts and trying to portray it as news. There was so many people convinced that Mercedes signed with AEW. There were so many people convinced that this was happening and this was happening. And you realize they were just talking out of their ass. They can't just express an opinion anymore. They have to portray it as fact, as factual, as news. And that sucks, because then people believe what you're saying. They trust you. And then you start feeling that way. And then when it doesn't happen, you get the, oh, well, WWE changed their mind. That's why you see how quick people changed their talking point the last 24 hours about Roman Reigns versus Cody Rhodes on the table for WrestleMania 40. That was bullshit. There was some fan that thinks, oh, well, since they've gotten past this, and people report it as news. Then when people started putting two together, like, hey, wait a minute, where the fuck are you getting this from? And people realized that this isn't actual news. Within 24 hours, you saw people backtracking on that. That's the biggest problem right now. People no longer want to express an idea or an opinion. That's not good enough. They have to put it out as a fact because they want credit for having a smart opinion. See, if you put out a smart opinion and you're right, you'll have a lot of other people, oh, I was thinking the same thing, or I thought about that all along. And then your opinion doesn't feel like it matters as much. So now they got to portray it as a fact, as news. So now when it happens, oh, he was the first person to say it. That's what we're dealing with right now. So I talked about this earlier today. I talked about it in great detail last Monday. Cody Rhodes should not be the first world heavyweight champion. Check out last Monday's show. I talked about it for 15 minutes. Why Seth Rollins should be the only person to win the World Heavyweight Championship. WWE took too long with Bray Wyatt. Now he's dealing with the illness. They fucked up. They're starting to take way too long with Roman Reigns and the Bloodline stories, where people are getting sick of it. They feel it's starting to take a little too long. WWE has to pull the trigger on something in a timely way so fans are content. And the majority of fans right now feel Seth Rollins winning the World Heavyweight Championship just feels right. The way he portrayed that title last Monday, it feels right. It doesn't feel like a pity championship. So WWE they can't do the AWA and tease it for an extra 6 months because they think it's going to sell tickets. You start pissing off fans. So again, no, Cody Rhodes should not be the first World Heavyweight champion. I'm out here, everyone. If you're around Monday night, you're welcome to join me. Now, this Wednesday Night Dynamite might be audio only. And the only reason being is because I might be visiting family Wednesday night, and I don't have the camera set up there. And to be honest with you, some Wednesdays, there's no reason to do video. Unless we got shit to show, there's no reason to do video all the time. I'm trying to spread it out evenly. Video, audio, nice balance. But, I'm not sure about this Wednesday, but I'll definitely know by Tuesday. But either way, we'll have a show. But I'll definitely let everybody know by Tuesday. Now, one other thing, the Q&A that I offered for channel members, that will be posted Tuesday for everybody online. So you'll find it at dontony.com, and that'll be available everywhere. And so look out for that. All right, I'm out of here. Much love, everyone. If you're around Monday night after Raw, join me. We'll recap the draft. We'll talk about the controversial moves. We'll see what happens with the Women's Championship. We'll talk a little bit about Raw, and we should be doing Backlash predictions. Be well.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a podcaster. For me to live any other way was nuts. To me, those goody-good people who worked shitty jobs for bum paychecks and took the subway to work every day and worried about their bills were dead. I mean, they were suckers. They had no balls. If I wanted something, I just took it. I ran everything. I paid the bills. I paid the host. I even paid the masked maniac. Everybody had their hands out. Everything was for the taking. We always called each other good fellas. You would always hear from somebody. You're gonna like Don Tony. He's all right. He's a good fella. He's one of us. But if you're part of my crew, nobody ever tells you they're gonna get rid of you. It doesn't happen that way. There weren't any arguments or curses like in the movies. See, your haters come with smiles. They come as your friends, the people who've claimed they care the most for your life. And now that's all over. And that's the best part. Today everything is different. There's lots of action. I don't have to wait around for everything like everyone else. Oh, I didn't get the vaccine? Fuck you, vaccine me. Oh, your delivery guy has COVID? Fuck you, feed me. Right after I moved here, I ordered egg noodles and ketchup, and I got spaghetti with meat sauce. I'm no longer an average nobody, while they get to live the rest of their lives like a bunch of schnooks.